Welcome.
Welcome to you too, sir. I see the little recording button up there in the top left-hand corner. Does that mean we're live?
Yeah, we're at it, man. So we've been threatening or talking about doing video for a long time, and now this COVID virus has made us or forced us to do our podcast over Zoom. So you may be seeing this on YouTube for the first time. It's our first little experiment with video podcasts. So here
Pretty neat. And to be honest with you, we're just like having some fun doing a little live feed on Facebook. So we had that going out too, just experimenting, playing with some new things on Through a Therapist's Eyes, right? The podcast where we invite you to see the world through the lens of a mental health and substance abuse therapist. Being aware this is not the delivery of therapy services in any way. Feedback and discussion on throughatherapistseyes.com. I guess, what else do I want to say here? We got a book coming out with Through a Therapist's Eyes. As expected, Mr. Graves, they absolutely changed the title.
Yeah, that's not that's a you. That's Chris's book. Chris has written a book and met with the publishers earlier this week, and you're right. They did offer some good advice, I think.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's good to work with people who know what they're doing. So they changed the title, just the subtitle, but excited about that coming out in the next several months. And you are Mr. Coach Craig Graves. What are you doing with coaching?
I'm getting there, man. I'm working on some stuff, putting together a webinar I'll be announcing soon to start getting some stuff out there. So I'm excited about it, man. It's a lot of fun, having some fun with it.
That's good. Well, we're switching up this episode. I don't know what are we titling it? You're kind of in charge here this time. This is episode 86, Staying at Home in the Coronavirus, or something like that. What are you titling this thing, man?
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to title it yet, but we're trying to do some coronavirus specific episodes to maybe help people with issues that might be coming up as a result of this virus. We did a show a few weeks ago, and it was more on, I think, the coronavirus in general. And we just finished the show with Joshua Shea. That may or may not be out before this one. I think it will be. But we talked to Josh about pornography and the COVID virus. Evidently, pornography usage has gone way up since the lockdown happened. And Josh talked to us about that. So that one's going to be coming out pretty soon too. Then we got some other ideas for coronavirus specific shows. This one is about working remotely in mental health. So
I can relate, man. I keep on saying on these shows, man, I'm wanting the mics back, dude. The Zoom stuff's kind of cool. Your voice is kind of cracking up. I mean, we're doing the best that we can, but dude, I want to be sitting down at the table at the desk with the microphones again. I want stuff to be normal, Mr. Graves.
Yeah, well, I don't know what normal is going to look like, but yeah, we'll get back there. We'll get back there someday. We'll get back to the same table at least, same room. Chris, what is your experience with working from home, man? Do you have any at all?
Yeah, I think it's been fascinating. Seeing it from my eyes, and from all of the different people that I work with in at the office, man. We're working from home. I think a lot of things about it. I mean, I think first of all, you're way more familiar with it than I am, aren't you? Right? You've been doing this for a while. For most of us like me, I mean, messing around with all this Zoom conferencing stuff, and it's draining. It's stressful. It's different. It's change. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that people are struggling with is, we all like control. We like things to be the way we want it to be. And right now, the lack of control that I think people feel is super frustrating. So in some ways, I'm really enjoying it. In other ways that I'm not. Now, I'm actually going into my office still a lot. But I'm doing a lot of teleconferencing and Skype conferencing because insurance companies have allowed us to do it and bill insurance, which is, holy cow, I couldn't believe the insurance companies have let us, make that large of a change, but they have. So I think people are liking it, but people are really struggling with things being different.
Now, are you in the office every day, or are you doing some from the house there?
I do actually go in every day just because I still have a lot of business stuff I got to do. I was a founder, so I got reports that I got to do every day and everything that kind of going on there with that. So I'm pretty much still actually kind of mentally health wise the same in that it's not totally different for me.
Now, how do you feel about working from home in general? Let's just say that you couldn't go in at all and you had to do everything from the house there. How would you kind of feel about that?
Yeah, it would be weird again because it's different, right? In some ways, it's super cool. Don't have to totally get dressed up. You can put a shirt on like I'm doing here, and have shorts on underneath, and you only get to see from here up. I don't know. I feel like it really boxes people in to a large extent. Being at home, I enjoy talking to people on the phone. I think I can kind of deal with it pretty well. I'll be sitting out in my backyard, and I've done that a little bit. I've had more than one session now sitting out in my backyard. So
yeah,
it's
pretty
a real
cool.
big fact. It is. Yeah, it's funny. In fact, I've told my clients the story more than once, man. We got a bumblebee killing contest at the Gazdacombe, right? So I'm sitting there. I got I'm down 3-2, and the first time that I was working out of the home, I had 2 sessions right in a row. So that's 2 hours in my backyard. Man, I was up 10-3. I'm popping bumblebees with my tennis racket, man.
Bumblebees are God's creatures too, man.
They dig holes in my deck.
Murdering bumblebees, okay?
They're digging holes in my deck, man. And they're scary. They just it sounds so loud and so big. But
we're going to talk about an article about a study, and I've just got one article, and I shared it on our Facebook page, and I shared it on our LinkedIn page, and it talks about how working from home is affecting people's mental health. But really, I kind of wanted to talk about my experience with it before we get into that. So, I guess it was around the year 2006, I think, that my company started letting us have some flexibility. So I was working from home 2 to 3 days a week back in 2006. And then around the 2007, I guess, time frame, 2008, we went home full time. So I was a full-time work-at-home guy from that time until about 2014. In fact, we got pulled back into the office in, I think it was November of 2014. Now, I still have I still have a little bit of flexibility here and there anyway before this COVID thing hit. Now I'm back at home full-time now. But, dude, that is my element, man. I have thrived. I've continued to get, high rankings on my performance reviews, and I can get a lot done for the company, and I can get a lot done at my house. It goes both ways. And it's just less stressful. I can run up and have lunch with the kids, or I could before they got too cool for me. So I could do those kind of things. There's no commute, saves time on gas and stuff like that. And the way our company's structured, Chris, is there's nobody else in the city of Charlotte who does what I do. So me being at home, really nobody knows where I'm at if I'm there working. So, that's kind of been my experience with working from home. I've actually done really well with that. But this survey that we're going to talk about today, the article I posted was.
Hold on a minute, Craig. Let me ask you a question then. How did you adjust to that? So you're in your element, you love it, but that was kind of forced on you. You're saying, right?
Yeah.
So
it wasn't really forced on me. I mean, in the beginning, they gave us the option. I think it got to a point where the company was sending people home, but when I started working from home full time, it was an option. Hey, do you want to go home? Yes, and I was home. And for me, it was kind of a transition. I kind of transitioned into it. I told you I was doing 2 to 3 days a week from home, and then that turned into eventually to full time. So, for me, it was just an easy transition.
Okay. Yeah, because I think maybe there's a difference between that transition and having the ability to choose and whatnot. I think part of the struggle people are really having is lots of things like with childcare. Your kids are at home, they're not in school. That is way stressful,
Yes.
And yeah, that is a whole different ballgame. I mean, it's difficult because of the distractions. Like you say, your productivity stayed up and whatnot. I'd venture to guess a lot of people's productivity just tanks. I know a friend of mine, or actually my wife's, who was it I was talking to? It wasn't my wife. Anyway, I was talking to somebody who's got a friend that's staying at home, and they're being completely harassed by, their employer. I mean, document every moment of the day. I want to know what you're doing. So it's almost like, a major hassle to be staying at home to prove that you're actually being productive.
Yeah, I think that's the. I don't want to get myself in trouble if somebody hears this, but I think that's an old mentality, man. As long as you get your job done, as long as, if I give you a task to do and I say, hey, get this done by Friday at 5, I don't care if you do it Monday morning, if you do it Wednesday afternoon, if you do it Thursday, I don't care if you do it at midnight on Monday. It doesn't matter. As long as your work gets done, then that's what it's all about, at least in my opinion. And that's how I've managed my employees in the past when I've been in those kind of situations. So I think it's just a change in the mentality of management and the worker, And if I don't trust you to get your job done, I should have never hired you. And I should fire you and hire somebody else that I can trust to get the job done. Right. So this whole documenting every second of the day and, that's ridiculous, at least in my opinion.
Well, absolutely. I think anybody would agree with you. The fact of the matter is, like I said, maybe it's just a matter of adjustment with people that are managing their employees for the first time ever like this. I mean, you got to understand, particularly in my field, we're not used to this type of thing. I mean, banking and, different industries that might be more familiar with it. I think there's a lot of people that aren't, which, by the way, might be part of what comes out of this COVID-19 reality is that, a lot of things are being experienced for the first time. I'll give you an idea about that. I mean, I would have been caught dead making this statement a month and a half ago, but I've always believed and still do that therapy face-to-face is ideal, right? And then you got a little bit of a step down doing, video conferencing like we're doing with Zoom and whatnot. And then I would have said, it's a way drop off on the phone. Like that's not effective therapy modality. Now I'm kind of shocked. I'm now seeing it as just a little bit of a step down from the video conferencing thing. I have had highly effective sessions on the phone. I mean, to me, yes. As a matter of fact, one session kind of sticks out in my mind that the conversation I was having with the teenager on the phone, I remember getting off the phone and telling my receptionist lady I was just processing this very same topic. And I was like, dude, that is the best session ever with this particular client. Like I don't think it was necessarily anything about the phone per se, just happened to be, a good time and a good topic for that kid. But see, I would never dreamed that a few months ago.
So you're talking about a phone call. You're not talking about a Zoom. You're talking about a phone conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
Less than Skype and whatnot. Just simply being on the phone with people.
Okay.
That was very effective.
I'm surprised at that too. I would have thought in a therapy situation or even a coaching situation that you're looking for body language and facial expressions and breathing patterns and all that kind of thing when you're talking to somebody. Oh, yeah. And that would clue you into where they are, mentally and emotionally. So I'm surprised to hear that a phone call was just a small step down from that.
Like I said, man, I was super surprised as well. I'm still kind of amazed at that. The reality of it is that you're still getting a lot of nonverbal communication with your spacing of words and the rapid speech that you have, the voice tones, all that stuff. But don't get me wrong. Now, face-to-face is the ideal. Video conferencing is second best and telephone's third. But, that shocked me too.
So you've known me for a while now, Chris, and I'm a big proponent of working from home and working remotely and working flexibly and stuff like that. But I will say that I don't think it's for everybody or every position. I would have assumed that being a therapist, it'd be better to be in person, or at least where I can see you. And another example I'll give, I used to run an operations team, and we used to keep the servers running, 24/7. So we had a team, we had somebody on site every minute of the day, 365 days a year. And so when something would go down, when something would break, when a server would stop working, then those guys would get together and, figure out what's going on, and they would fix the issue. If we had some kind of new equipment coming in, then, that those guys could get together and brainstorm on how to fix it or how to set it up or whatever. And so those guys eventually got sent home too. And I was shocked because I thought that they really needed to be there together, face to face, figuring things out. Me, right. On the other hand, I moved into a new role where I was doing more of data analytics, and there was nobody else in the city that did what I did or do what I do. And so it didn't make sense for me to be in an office. I didn't have to be there. There was nobody for me to collaborate with in that office, right? So I just want to make that point that I don't think working from home is for every job or every person, okay? And so, let's talk about the article a little bit. And I kind of want to hear if you're hearing anything from your clients. So there was a survey that was done. This was in the New York Post, and I shared that on our Facebook group too, if you guys want to go out there and check it out. It says that 35% of workers who telecommute said their mental health had deteriorated as a result of doing so amid the coronavirus lockdown, according to a survey conducted by researchers at, I think it's Keio, K-E-I-O, University in Tokyo. The survey was conducted on March 26 through 28. So among telecommuters, 35% said their mental health had deteriorated as a result of having to work from home. 50.7% said it had no impact on their mental health, and 14.3% said their mental health had improved. So what do you think about that? What do you think, man? What are you hearing there?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Let's pause there for sure, because I think it's important for people to kind of realize, when you're talking about working at home, since the beginning of this thing, I've been calling for prudent decisions, number one. Number two, you really want to have, calm attitude so that fear is not driving this and that shame is not driving this. That's really important to be able to make prudent decisions. And then number three, that we're aware so that we're not blowing stuff off and we're still dealing with this, in an informed way as we can. So the reality of people being at home, there's a certain amount of shame involved in that, I would suggest, right? Because aren't you supposed to be in a happy marriage? Aren't you supposed to love your kids? Aren't you supposed to value quality time with people? There's these myths, we're supposed to stay at home, play Parcheesi, and be just like totally happy. And, the reality of it is that's not quite reality. It's stressful to be around our children. They get really, really sick and tired of us. They don't want to hear us talking about picking up the wrappers on the floor and getting on their case about this, that, and the other and stuff. So when you're talking about spending a whole lot of extra time, you have these added factors that are really, a challenge. It's a well-known thing in marriage counseling, for instance. When you take long trips, vacations are actually stressful. What is the phrase? You've ever heard, you got to have a vacation from my vacation?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, you've heard that. In part, that's because it's really stressful to be around those people that, that you love and you're closest to, because you need a certain amount of break. I have my life over here, you have your life. We converge together to create, what we're doing together, but we need those boundaries and those breaks. And so when you're stripped from that, and I am concerned as this goes along more and more, the more and more that we're stripped from that, the more and more we're going to have, all kinds of mental breakdowns, domestic violence and fighting arguments and, child abuse. I mean, we've started to kind of highlight the mental health factors. Alcohol sales. I saw an article, alcohol drinking up 30%.
Wow.
30% sales. Yeah, boom. It's jumping up.
Wow.
So I don't know. It's you feel like, I think my main point here is you feel like you're supposed to be happy because you're not at work, you're at home, but a lot of people are really stressed out. Maybe in a way, us adults are a whole lot more like our kids than what we think we are. Because right now, kids are kind of like, I'd be willing to bet. I can't wait for school to be done. This is the best thing ever. And then now we're 4 weeks into this, and dude, they're losing their mind. They don't know what to do with themselves. Can you imagine? And we're going to imagine it's going to be a reality. Here in about 4 or 5 months, we're going to be coming towards the end of summer. And I think kids are, I'm very, very worried about kids staying at home right now. I feel like it's such a terrible detriment to children. Now I'm supposed to be following your lead, Craig. I feel like I'm jumping off into another category or topic here with kids at home.
Obviously you're the guy, so your input's is valuable. But I think you're right. A lot of my experience with working from home has been, when I did it way back in the mid 2000s or whatever, my kids were either in school or in daycare, and they didn't get home until around 5 p.m. So I had all day there at the house by myself. Now my kids are a little older. My son is 16 and my daughter is 11, and they understand, dad's got to work. So they're doing their schoolwork, and I'll say, hey, I got a meeting, and they'll go upstairs or, go outside and play in the grass or the yard, whatever, while I'm doing my thing. So they're easy to manage, right? Some people have young kids at home who don't understand what that means. I got a buddy down in Wilmington, and he and I spoke today, and I said, hey man, you don't seem like you're yourself. And he said, yeah, me and my girls are annoying each other, So, it was hard for him to get into a groove with his kids being there. And I've heard the same things about, some of my friends have said the same things about being at home with their spouse and how difficult it is to work out of the same household. So my work from home situation is a lot different than other people's when it comes to other people being here. And so my kids are at their mom's once, every other week too, and that helps. So like this week, they're not here at all, and so I'm able to function fairly well. There's no problems for me. So.
Yeah, let's stay here if we could then, Craig, because and then we'll get back to the article wherever you're at. Because this is something that I want to kind of highlight a little bit. I've been, bear with me, audience, because it's kind of fresh off my thinking. To be honest with you, I started thinking about this morning in a session with somebody. We were just, kind of starting the therapy session, and we were chit-chatting about stuff. I am really becoming more and more. No, I'll tell you exactly what it was. It wasn't in a session. It was my older kid's school counselor and I were having this conversation, Craig. So she's kind of trained as well. She's a school counselor. And so she and I were kind of kicking this back and forth. And man, you and I are adults. You're talking about your adjustment a little bit. You asked me how I'm dealing with staying at home. I think industries, some it applies to more than others, like you've pointed out. Us adults will adjust. We're gonna cope with it. We're gonna make adjustments. We're gonna do what we need to do. But dude, our children, I'm really becoming concerned about. And by the way, I don't have any answers about it, because I feel like to a certain extent they need to be pulled out of school, because one kid gets a coronavirus, man, the whole lot of them are going to likely, be jumped onto it. So by the way, Facebook Live people, make a comment and I think it'll come up on here. So it'll be cool if you can actually, maybe we're experimenting with it. You can join the conversation. But these kids are really affected socially. They're really affected scholastically. I don't know about your kids, Craig, but dude, mine aren't learning. They're not dialing into the information. Socially, they're not engaging with their teacher, and the teacher-student relationship is really, invaluable. I think we're gonna be, seeing that and studying that. The video game reality, we've got social media. We did shows before that's increasing the levels of anxiety that people are having. This is just sort of honestly off the top of my head when I'm talking about. Kids and the effects on not being in school, it's beginning to really, really concern me.
Yeah, that's probably a show in and of itself, but you're right. I mean, I think it's a huge concern for kids being stuck at home. My kids are like, oh, I want to go to school. They're like, man, I wish I could go to school, you know?
Wait a minute, your
Leave
kids
them
are saying I
there.
want to go to school or not?
My kids, you know, before this thing happens, like, oh, I don't want to go to school. I got to stay
Oh,
home from school. And now it's like, I want to go back to school.
so
You know?
you are hearing that they want to go back. Yeah, mine don't. Mine are quite content, particularly my
No, well,
older
my
one.
daughter wants to go
Graduating.
back. I heard my son say that, but my daughter, she's like, yeah, I want to go back to school. You know?
Well, I think the younger, which is interesting, right? So can we say that there's an effect, from my clinical mind, the older a kid is, the more that's not going to be the case. The younger the kid is, the more important it is to get that socialization and those connections and that engagement, with kids in their grades and in their lives. I think there's there's a great concern, in the things you wouldn't realize a kid is getting from the classroom. They're missing.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Yeah.
You're pointing me back to get back to the article, I think, right?
Yeah, I think kids and coronavirus is probably a whole topic by itself, and I don't want to get too far off the topic here. So what kind of stuff are you hearing from your clients, man? Are your clients stressed out about working from home, or how are they doing?
Let's go back and finish the article that you had, man. Are we done with that?
No, just a couple other things I wanted to point out off the article. So it says of the respondents who said doing telework had worsened their mental state, 41.3% said it was difficult to separate their work and personal lives. And I think that's kind of where we are, talking about our kids being home and our spouses being home. So I think that probably makes it pretty difficult. Followed by 39.9% who said they weren't able to do enough exercise, and 39.7% who said they had difficulty communicating with coworkers. So exercise.
That's an interesting.
39.9%. For me, man, it's easy to exercise. I got a little home gym, but there are tons and tons of workout people offering free workouts these days. I mean, Spartan Race is doing it. Unbeatable Minds, Steel Fit's doing it. A guy I'm connected with on LinkedIn has a program where he's sending out body weight stuff. So if you're listening to this and exercise is an issue for you, then get in touch with me. And I can turn you on to some of these programs, man. But exercise is something that you can really do anywhere, and you don't really need much equipment to do it besides your body. So don't let that get you down.
Yeah, let me actually kind of do an experiment. Like, Craig, we got some comments with Facebook Live thing, which is neat and new for us. I mean, because somebody just said, Amy was like, hey, I had to take my son's PS4 away, just to get him to his schoolwork. It's true. I mean, I feel like the challenge between parents and kids is a big factor here. And you just said something about talking to coworkers is very difficult.
Yeah, communication.
Communication with coworkers. We are geared and designed to really be in connection with other people. I don't know if it was this show, Craig, or the last show, but I was like, dude, I miss shaking people's hands. I mean, I just met a new client today in my office. And I mean, it's a very important part of relating to each other. I mean, I reach my hand out, I shake their hand, I kind of smile at them, kind of walk through the hallway with them, and immediately that connection starts. And I just feel like people are really missing that. The stat you threw there with coworkers, we are stripped from our ability to make real connections with people, in the workplace, and I'm concerned about that too. Actually, as you read that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Were you shaking hands today?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
I didn't
good.
shake his hand.
Good.
I want to. I miss it.
I was about to give you a hard time for that.
You should.
Yeah. So, the funny thing is we talk about we're social creatures, and we really are. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. But, I told you in 2014, we got pulled back into the office, and I really don't have anybody in the city that I'm directly working with. But even when I was on meetings with people in the same building, we still did it from our desks, on our phones. It's not like we got together in a conference room and met. And there was a guy, when we first went back in, there was a guy that worked on my team. and he sat in a queue beside me. So there was a divider, and you had to stand up. And if I stood up, it probably came to right here on the top of the wall did. And,
Right.
and he and I could have a conversation like I'm talking right now. And we would actually sit there, Chris, and chat and talk to each other on the company chat thingy instead of having a conversation. So I hear what you're saying, but I think in a lot of cases, man, you do what you do. You don't actually have the face-to-face interaction, even if you're in the office. At least that's my experience with it.
Well, and, it's you're way more experienced with this than I am. There's no doubt about it. I'm a sci-fi guy, kind of like, sci-fi movies, and in all the movies, you got the screen on the ship there, and you're talking to your loved one that's on Earth, and you're on your way to some other universe or something, and we are getting slam dunked as a society completely into a way new way of existing and relating to each other. And this is going to be studied for years to come in psychology circles and whatnot, sociology circles and all of this. It's just totally new. Fascinatingly, interestingly enough, it occurs to me to throw out, and I'm not sure where we're going because I'm trying to follow your lead, I guess, Craig, but I did have somebody that it was talking about as a heavy AA member. So you talk about how is it, what effects for my clients you had asked earlier about staying at home. Well, that is a huge reality for, members of our recovering communities. They can't go to meetings, man. I mean, you can't sit around in a small church room and have, even 15, 20, sometimes there's 30, 35, 50 people, in a room that are supporting each other, living a life together in the AA and 12-step communities. So you can't do that. But she's literally having 12-step virtual meetings, like with people around the world.
She's doing that now.
She's doing that now. Yeah. And I find that fascinating because you can get the 12-step community that just evolves and goes all the way around, the world. So there's going to be cool things that come out of this, but particularly as it relates to kids, I'm most concerned.
Yeah, along those lines, I've seen a lot of virtual things happening that weren't happening before, and so one of my fellow coaches put together a little kind of like a little high school reunion. Now, obviously, it wasn't her whole class, but it was some people that she used to hang out with when she was in high school. They hadn't seen each other for years, so now they're getting together and having these little virtual high school reunions, if you will. And one of my fraternity brothers did the same thing. He put a Zoom together and invited 25 or so of us to the Zoom. And, we hadn't seen each other in years, man. So it was, that's a cool thing to do. There's lots of free online classes. Dude, there's so much stuff going on online now that you can't keep up with it all. It's overwhelming. And it's really cool that people are connected in that way. And this is, obviously something that this communication was not happening in this way before. So I hope some of that does carry over to when we kind of get back to a normal thing. So I think that's been a pretty cool, and now you're telling me about virtual AA meetings. I mean, that is just really neat stuff, in my opinion, man.
There really is. But Craig, I think one of the things you got to remember or realize too, Craig, is that, you are a tech guy, right? You're more steeped in this and comfortable with this. I am not. And I think that's it's funny because as we talk about this, more things sort of click off in my brain, in what are the effects of staying at home? Well, I can't tell you how many people I've actually talked to in my office that have, people, converting their office from home or they're taking their office at the office and converting it into home and whatnot. And the fact of the matter is, geez, oh man, they're not comfortable with that. The printer doesn't really work. I'm supposed to log into this meeting, like I can't find it. People say I'm supposed to search and there's all this neat stuff. Well, I'm just frustrated with it. I don't like it. It makes me mad. You get that technology anxiety because stuff doesn't work right.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how that's different at home versus an office. So like, you still have your company helpline who can help you,
I can tell you how it is. You got a tech support person right there in the office. They're two doors down. At home, I'm like,
in a big company, most tech support stuff in a big company is handled over the phone. Only if you've got a hardware malfunction or something like that, do they send somebody out. And in a lot of times, you have to take the computer to them to get some kind of hardware thing fixed. So tech support could be an issue. I can see that, but in other ways, other ways maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's tech support. I think it's just familiarity. Somebody on the Facebook Live was saying, yeah, they're in the mental health field and seems to be doing good with virtual visits. I mean, Amy, me too. I'm absolutely doing a lot of those, and I'm not a tech guy, but I'm figuring Skype out, and I'm enjoying that. It's just herky jerky. It works and then it stops working, and it's something that, again, I think I come back to, Craig, in my thoughts as we're talking. It's just different. It's strange. It's awkward, and it's new. And maybe it's going to be great, but I think for at least a little while, people are stressed out over it and about it, and we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure it out. The newness will wear off, but
yeah, I can see how getting thrown into the fire like we have been with the other factors at play, like your kids and spouses and all being at home at the same time, could be a strain on your mental state. I can definitely see that. I think as far as my work environment at home over the years, it's been pretty good because I haven't had kids at home. I haven't had a spouse at home. I kind of transitioned into it. I'm not in a role where I'm talking face to face with people on a daily basis anyway. And I can understand how that if you were, not in those categories, how being all of a sudden you're at home working can be difficult for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, I don't want to paint a bad picture of working from home. We're talking about working from home messing up people's mental health. If you look at that statistic, 65% of people are either okay with it or in a better mental state. 14% are in a better mental state, according to them. So working from home has benefits, it does, definitely does.
Yeah, 14% are improved, but that leaves like 80% that are like not.
No. 50% said there was no change.
Okay, gotcha.
They're at an even keel. 35% are like, hey, this ain't good.
Right.
All right, man. So I kind of wanted to cover a few things people could do. So if you're struggling with working from home, what are some things that you can do to maybe to make things a little bit better? And so I found another article. This one is from workplacementalhealth.org, and it's entitled "Working Remotely During COVID-19." And so, how do I maintain my health and wellness? Well, you got any? What say you, Chris? And then we'll read through these together.
What say me about maintaining health and wellness?
Yeah, while you're working from home during this deal.
Well, Facebook Live people, what do you think? Give me some comments. Help me out. He's putting me on the spot. I usually do that to him.
Yeah, now you see how. Hey,
I know, right? I know.
If I've made you speechless, I'm gonna hang up right now.
I know, right? I think really what comes to my mind most is really kind of being able to take those breaks. I think self-care always comes to my mind when we're talking about managing our mental health and managing our emotions and such. We probably have a little bit of a panic feeling that, hey, I'm on the mark. People are watching me. They're telling me to document my productivity, and you got to be. You feel almost an extra pressure to be more engaged and whatnot in your work in when you're kind of being micromanaged and whatnot. So probably becomes way more important to take those 5-minute breaks, those 10-minute breaks. Go out to the yard. Do that guilt free. But also physical. You can't forget, when you're at home all day, you got the dishes sitting over there, you got this thing that needs cleaned, you got this crap that needs done. Oh, my husband's going to be coming home, or my wife's going to be home soon. I got to get the nice dinner because I've been sitting here at home. none of that stuff, there's probably just a bit of a head game, because that really weighs us down. The internal pressure that we put on ourselves for those types of things occurs to me as you ask me that question, Cold. So self-care, managing the boundaries, if you're really working at home, you're really working. You're not doing home life, which means, by the way, the kids that need your attention, the kids that are grabbing at you to, play with them and whatnot. Like, prudent decisions with a calm attitude, not driven on fear, but not driven on shame. You're not a bad mom if you're at home ignoring the kids because you're in work hours, taking those breaks, and the other being aware, not blowing stuff off as this is no big deal. That's what comes to my mind, I guess, at first.
Good. So you said take breaks, structure your work day, right?
Yep.
Did you say that? Were there three or just two?
Not in so many words structure, but yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I said that, but.
Okay, so how do I maintain my health and wellness? According to this article, right, what you said, keep a regular schedule. And this article has it broken down. 7 to 7:30, I'm waking up, I'm stretching, taking care of kids, animals, whatever. 7:30 a.m., I'm having breakfast with the family, technology free. 8:30, work and check on updates with small breaks every 30 minutes or so. That's 8:30 to 12. 12 to 1's a lunch break. So just like you said, maintain a schedule, structure that day out, and work time is work time, and work some breaks in there.
I did good, man. I did good, cool. I'm proud of myself. I did good, all right.
Yeah, you did good. So I do that now. Like I'll plan out my calendar all day. I'll plug things in there, and just like it's doing here. So it's on my calendar, so I can look. So what's next? Oh, okay, I'm taking a break. What's next? Oh, I'm having lunch. So I do that.
Structure really helps us center our brain in on the small tasks of the moment or of the day. Structure is really important that way. Yeah. So I'm not too surprised.
Yep. Number 2 was stay connected. Stay connected with family and friends using technologies like we're doing right now: Skype, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, whatever. Keep your immune system strong. Make a commitment to staying strong by washing hands, getting enough sleep, eating well, staying hydrated, taking vitamins. Jump in, Chris, if you need to at any point. Prioritize personal hygiene and limit contact with others, okay? So that's social distancing. And I think if you're doing things like that, it's probably taking your mind off of being sick, Chris. Is that kind of where you think they're going with that, Worry about getting the virus?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Exercise and stay active. Now, that other article, people said they couldn't exercise at home, but I think that's easily overcomable, if that's a word. Easy to overcome. Get some fresh air. Do what? Overcomable?
Overcomable, yeah.
Get some fresh air. If circumstances allow, go outside for a brisk walk in fresh air. But avoid crowds and try to maintain the recommended 6-foot distance with others. So here's what I'm doing, man. I'll go outside and I'll take my shoes off, and I'll walk around in the grass on the earth with no shoes on, And that's called grounding. That sounds kind of woo-woo, but the earth has energy, and I believe that getting that energy into your body through your feet is a good thing. And if nobody's around, I'll take my shirt off, and get some sun while I'm out there. And I stay out about 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Pause there for a second, because you said something that strikes me that I think is pretty important. Grounded. It is a little woo-woo, by the way. Take your shoes off, barefoot, go walk in the earth and get grounded to the earth. But, as much as you think that's woo-woo-y and weird, it triggered a thought for me, Craig, that is absolutely, that's a clinical term. We use that all the time.
Doing it.
What's that?
So I don't think it's weird. I'm doing it.
Yeah. All right. Well, they think it's weird, but anyway, the clinical term is being grounded, and I think that what I'm kind of stuck on, and we look at what are the effects of working from home. It's that I don't feel that structure, says people. I'm struggling with not feeling, the connection with others. I don't I'm struggling with the added internal pressure of what people are expecting from me. My wife with a meal when I get home, or my kids with entertainment and whatnot. Well, what is the common foundation of all of those things? It occurs to me as we're talking, the common part of all of those things is I don't feel grounded. I feel scattered. I feel, you know, when you're working from home and there's this thrust upon you, I'm struggling with feeling in control. I'm struggling with knowing what to expect. I'm up in the air. Everything's loosey goosey. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. People don't like that. It's distressing, and it's seriously messing with their systems of anxiety. It's seriously messing with their systems of depression. It's seriously hindering our ability to relax and feel grounded. So what you say is really cool. Yeah, go out and be with the earth for a minute.
Yeah,
it's okay to do that.
yeah, and it's good for you, right? I mean, definitely is. Now, the next two are they kind of go hand in hand, and you kind of be careful. So the first one is stay informed. Knowledge is power, and it's good to stay updated on progress being made combating the virus. Stay informed on the latest updates from reliable sources like the CDC and the WHO. Okay? So.
No, no, we don't stay informed with the news.
Well, here we go. I said these two go hand in hand. The next one is limit media consumption.
Exactly.
Avoid continual exposure to news, media, and social media that may trigger or elevate anxiety, stress, or panic. Stay informed by following few authoritative resources, but limit media consumption. And I think that's maybe the best advice that we've said tonight. You know, and dude, it is so
really
easy to get sucked in.
I want to comment about that, Craig, if I could, because I've given that feedback to you know, a lot of my people in office, and Facebook Live people. I'd be curious to hear what you hear about this type of way, because and we did a show on the mass media, and I thought that was a super good show a few episodes back. It's you know, it has a great impact, I think. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought, Craig. I was checking out
about limiting media. You said you were talking
yes. Because the information that you get is so varied and intoxicated with anxiety and whatnot. And I really am having a lot of my clients that are just kind of sucked into the centrifuge of absolutely too much information. And I mean, you can imagine it. You know, you got the OCD people, or the people that are anxiously and worried and whatnot. I mean, it's just struggling with, you know, rampant, give me more. You ask a question, you get an answer, and then I have another question, another piece of information. It can really absolutely drive anxiety to a whole nother level, and is very concerning.
It really can. Absolutely, it can. There's a lot going on in the media. You know, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, but a lot of it's become political, and a lot of the opinions and so-called facts that you hear are politicized, and it's a cesspool of negativity and misinformation.
You know, it's interesting. Facebook Live is saying, you know, it's less stress at home, and it goes both ways. But Craig, I think, you know, people might say also, yeah, you don't have as much colleague back and forth and you know, what would you say, political BS that goes on in the office. It's all cut out. So it's less stressful, and you can actually be more productive, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've already said 65% of the people are either no change or better off. So we're just trying to talk to the 35% who are having some trouble here. So
right.
Set boundaries on work schedule. I think that kind of goes along with the first thing we said. When working from home, be sure that you are working reasonable hours. Okay, this is a little bit different. It can be tempting to work more while you have your work at home. However, it can also be taxing on your health and well-being, so stick to a schedule with healthy boundaries. And so when I work from home, before 2014, I was guilty of that because we had these routers that in our offices, our home offices. So my computer was on 24/7. So, I'd be in the kitchen making some dinner or, making a snack, whatever, watching TV, and I would hear my email ding. And the next thing you know, I'm in there working at 9 o'clock at night,
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So I would work a lot more just because my computer was always there, and if I hear something come in, I'd go, what is that? And I'd go in there and look. And the next thing I know, I'm an hour into something. So, yeah, you do have to set some healthy boundaries. And so these days, I just cut my computer off. 5:30, 6 o'clock, whenever I'm done, bam, it's off. And then I'll turn it back on the next day.
Done is really done.
Do what?
Done is really done.
Done's done. That's right. Done is absolutely done. Distract and redirect. Engage in activities that benefit your well-being, bring you joy, and distract you from existing challenges. This might include meditation and yoga, often offered free online. You may also enjoy journaling, reading, art projects, cooking with new recipes, breathing exercises, or listening to a calming podcast or music. We kind of talked about this last time with Josh. This is a great time to try some new stuff, So if you've been wanting to start meditating and haven't done it, now's a great time to do that. It mentions yoga. I shared an article today on yoga. It's a great time to start a yoga practice if you're not doing that. Lots of classes. I mean, you can learn just about anything these days from online classes that are out there. Pick up podcasting, hopefully you listen you're listening to our show, but there's hundreds of thousands of great shows out there that you can choose from. So, pick up some hobby.
Let me ask you, Craig. So I'm curious, what, if you got a list there and you kind of check this article out and stuff, choose one or two of them that really stick out to you, because there's a lot of things there, that I'm hearing you say. So let's kind of needle in a little bit too to what do you think is kind of the most effective that you're hearing and thinking about when you're trying to kind of get, help people, get along with being at home?
I guess it depends on your motives. If you're trying to calm yourself, I would probably say implement some kind of breathing practice. I don't know if we've talked about breathing on the show or how. I know we have, but like specific breathing exercises. But look up Mark Devine's box breathing video if you're having trouble with anxiety and you want some breathing exercises to help with that. If you just always wanted to do something, if you've always wanted to read a book, I want to read some Ernest Hemingway books. I've read a lot of books about Ernest Hemingway, but never any books by Ernest Hemingway. So, if you've got some project, or if you want to start learning a foreign language, or if you've just got something you've always wanted to do, pick that up, If you're looking for a way to deal with the stress, breathing, yoga is a good way to do that. I mean, there's other things you can do. It talked about calming music and, just pick something that you've always wanted to do or that you think will help you and just experiment with it.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, one of the things I heard you kind of highlight there is breathing. I don't know how much time we've got. Where are we at on time anyway? Let me take a peek. I mean, we probably need to taxi in here soon. We talk about that a lot. I'm gonna share with the audience. We're in a mastermind group together, right? We're honest about that in the public. And you hear people talk about simple things that we could do, and you give lip service to it. But the reality of it is, and I think that we were telling you on the group, at least I remember commenting to you, Craig, really express that with people. Because we talk about breathing, and I heard you say that a couple times is what I'm kind of hearing the loudest from you, to be calm and, to take those breaths. People don't know how to do that. They don't know really the reality, the ins and outs of that. And when we spent some time in the mastermind group and you took us through that and we actually did that, that's impactful. And I don't think you realize how much people don't really realize what that is. So here to give a really practical thing, would you be willing to kind of talk about, well, what do you mean box breathing? What is that and how does that really work? Because I don't think people really know.
Yeah, okay. So box breathing. Box breathing is it's a pattern of breathing. So most folks start out with about a 4 count. I think I'm doing a 5 now, in some cases 6, but basically you breathe all the air out and then you inhale to that 4 or 5 count. When you get to the top of that 4 or 5 count, you hold for the same count. So 5, it's 5, 5. You can't see my hand because the Zoom's messing up. So you inhale 5, hold 5, exhale 5, hold 5, and then repeat. And then you do that for a certain amount of time. And you're doing deep diaphragmatic breathing. So you're breathing down into your lower belly, right? If you put your hand on your stomach and you breathe in, you can feel your belly coming out. Then your air is going to fill up the middle part of your lungs and eventually up into your chest. And then when you exhale, you breathe out that same way. And what we can do, Chris, we can even do a Facebook Live, and I can do a little breathing class at some point for our Facebook group.
I think that's what we're doing right now to a certain extent.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the practice right now. We'll cover that later, but that's kind of what that looks like. There's really not that much to it. And if any of you guys want to speak to me about it, then reach out or Google Mark Divine box breathing on YouTube, and he can step you through that.
And I think my point is that it's something that we take for granted. It's something that we hear. I would venture to say everyone that hears this show around the world is going to say, oh yeah, breathing's helpful. I've heard that before. It's about practicing it. It's about doing that. It's about understanding, how that works in the moment. I can tell you when I'm really, really stressed out, and something's on my mind, I'm not good at doing the structured total program like you're talking about, but I will do that. I'll just, and I find that it just clears my mind out and settles me down. I can literally feel the butterfly in my stomach leave. My heart rate can decrease. It just slows down. And when I teach clients that in sessions and whatever, sometimes they're kind of like, oh, wow, because I can catch people right in the middle of anxiety attacks. And we bring that level down. And I guess I'm just highlighting how effective that really is.
It really is. It does a lot of things to you. It taps into your parasympathetic nervous system, which puts you in a more relaxed state. And here's a visual of it. I don't know if you guys can see this on the video, but you're inhaling to a 5 count, you're holding a 5 count, exhaling a 5 count, and then holding a 5 count at the bottom. And you can do between 5 and 20 minutes of that a day, just kind of focusing on your breath. And if
5 to 20 minutes, holy cow.
Yeah, right. Well, I've got a 2-minute one on my little app, but when a thought comes up, which it will, then you just let that thought go and go back to focusing on the breath. And that's exactly how it wores. Maybe I can go into more detail at a different time, but man, that thing works wonders. That works wonders.
I think we make a mental note and do that. Absolutely, Craig, because really this Facebook Live thing's kind of cool, and people are popping in and out and getting different pieces of it. So it's kind of neat, and I think you're right. That would be a fun thing to do. How do we taxi in here? Before I lose it, I did have a current event article. I told you about this for the show outs, and it'll be on the show notes, but it is interesting. Here in North Carolina, this was in, where was this? It was a newspaper article. I don't know. It'll be on the show notes somewhere, but it was just made me laugh because the headline is North Carolinians, that's us. Well, I'm in North Carolina here. North Carolinians are tops for jinking on the job during pandemic, survey finds.
On the job?
Yeah, man. Talk about staying at home. Well, the reality of it is people are absolutely drinking it up and during work hours, which people, you can't do that. Don't do that, I would say.
Dude, I saw some hilarious homeschooling memes when this thing first started, Did you see those?
No, I didn't. But check this out. It says in the rooms, a South Florida-based website that hosts live video support groups has seen a dramatic rise in users as the coronavirus has forced addicts and alcoholics to shelter in their homes during their recovery by in the rooms. What else does it say? Alcohol drug recovery meetings they've moved online. I thought this had some numbers. Oh, this way. The survey released Monday questioned nearly 13,000 workers in all 50 states and found 47.7 of the people working from home in North Carolina admitted to drinking on the job. So I just thought that was funny. A little current event here at the end of us. But how do you wrap us up, Mr. Graves?
That's crazy. Got one more thing to share. Get creative to stay connected. So share tips with coworkers and friends on what's working well for you and encourage them to do the same. So share your experiences with your coworkers on what you're doing is working well for you, And that's all I got, Chris.
All right, man. I'm not sure where we're going next. No, I actually think I am. We need to get it scheduled, but we have actually a fellow Morgan James publishing author, colleague of mine. We got a commitment, so I think I can make it public. She's going to come on and she's going to do a show on the coronavirus and the pandemic effects on marriages, right? Like, okay, good. Yeah, when does that happen? Well, I got the email today. Evidently, our next day. Well, actually, you need to check your emails because I think we're going to try to record it on Monday, the next recording week. But the Thursday doesn't work, so it'll be the Monday. Facebook Live people, maybe we'll do this again on that Monday, May in a couple of weeks. But nevertheless, she wants to come on and do that, and I think that'll be a cool show to do because marriages are struggling. I can tell you in this day and age and with what's going on.
Yeah, a lot happening. A lot happening.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll see you guys next week. Love the Facebook Live thing. I like it a lot. I'm probably going to have to keep on doing that in some form or fashion. So be on the lookout for that. And the comments help the show, and we enjoy that. So anything else, Craig, before we get out of here?
That's it for me, man.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week.